All right. What is up? First to the floor, Jake Eisenberg, Dan Greenberg, Bartool Sports, presented by CLNS Prize Picks and Game Time. Greeny, that's how you lose a playoff game to a team that you should not lose a playoff game to.
You know, I feel like we've talked about the three pillars of playoff pain. Like this was it. This was the blueprint of every Celtics playoff loss you've seen for the most part since the bubble. High turnovers, high points off turnovers, poor rebounding, and poor outside shooting. I mean, that's it. Those are the three, those are the problem areas that when they drop these games, they probably shouldn't lose. And, they don't execute down the stretch. It's usually around those margin plays. And when you screw around in a playoff game, eventually it bites you in the ass. And I think, the fact that even in their wins, they were relatively close. It's like, you can't afford to have all of those components at once, right? You can afford the high turnovers if you make a whole bunch of threes. You can afford, not making a bunch of threes if you're great on the glass and you take care of the basketball. But it's when you get them all at once, it's like, even if the team isn't an offensive juggernaut, you're just getting outshot. You're, creating easy transition baskets to where you're bailing them out and not forcing them to beat you in half court offense. So you just add it up and it's all just bad.
Yeah. Look, this podcast could be 2 minutes long. It's don't turn the ball over 10 times, rebound the ball 19 times. Sorry, apologies. I wouldn't want to shortchange the Boston Celtics here tonight. And that's the game. Like in a matchup with the Magic, and I'm kind of wavering on my decision to prefer the Orlando Magic in round one, considering every game we're like losing different body parts of each Celtics player. 3
for 3. I always thought that was kind of, overplayed, but I guess you have to go through it to understand what everyone, may have been talking about. I mean, they are 3 for 3 in, some sort of flagrant, some sort of injury, some sort of something. We had Tatum, then Drew pulled his hammy, and now you have Jaylen dislocating his finger, Porzingis getting the elbow. So it's like every game something tends to be happening.
Yeah, and I like physical basketball. I don't like the extra stuff that Orlando is doing. Like the Cole Anthony pulling Jaylen out of the air, it was correctly called a flagrant foul to me. But like the flagrant foul doesn't make Jaylen's index finger not dislocate. Yeah, that's just not how it works. And we seem to have dodged a bullet when it comes to Tatum's wrist. Like I thought he looked physically pretty much fine. He was doing a wrist celebration, it looked like, in the
At first I thought
half.
that was like call a full timeout, but then he kept doing it, and it was like the first 3 of the third quarter. It's like, all right, so maybe that isn't like the Al Horford timeout celebration. So I guess, but like, stop drawing attention to your wrist, bro.
Yeah,
like, people going after that.
Not my favorite celebration. I'd stick to the kiss of death. I also don't think he hit a 3. He hit 1 and 3 in the second half. 1 in the first shot of the third quarter, which felt pretty much like the last points of the game, more or less. But the turnovers in particular, like this game, it felt like a team that was up 2-0 playing like a team that was up 2-0, and against a team that was down 2-0 playing like a team that was down 2-0. The Magic brought the necessary physicality, mindset, and the Celtics, I hate kind of pointing to like that effort intensity thing, but if you look at the very end of the game, like the last 5 minutes, the Celtics were down like 10 or whatever the lead got to, and then they come storming back, and you know that this team is like 2 minutes, 3 minutes away from one run to pulling away or clawing the game back. And it's the high pickup points. It's the physicality with the ball pressure. It's making the shots more difficult. It's the gang rebounding. In that last few minutes where they storm back, I'm like, that's great. I'm glad you're doing it now.
Where was
this in the first 12 minutes of the second half? So it's just very frustrating.
And it's one of those, it's like, while I understand you can't replicate the human emotion, you're just going to be more desperate when your season's effectively on the line than you are knowing really all you're looking for is a split at a minimum. Having said that, like they played Tatum and Brown tonight to go for the kill. Like this was, the kill shot attempt. And then you look at how it transpired and it's like, I don't think all of their turnovers were just because the Magic were more amped up. Like you had Tatum and Brown holding the ball, dribbling into live ball turn. Like that was the Miami Heat series all over again. You had turnovers on the entry pass. You had, zero production from your bench. So it's like these things that are just not, if you just play normal. And I don't know how to describe, because for the most part, both Tatum and Brown were fairly efficient. The only time they got into trouble was in that lull in the, first 8 minutes of the third quarter. But a lot of their turnovers were just the things that we know get them into trouble. And I don't know if that's just because they were up 2-0 and they just tried to change their approach or what. But it's like when the ball's not moving, it's like when they used to play the Heat and the Heat could just sag in onto the zone and force you into their driving help. It's like when the Magic aren't forced into rotation and they're just watching an isolation attempt, everyone is there to reach in, to be, a contest or challenge, a offensive rebounder. Now you're not hitting the offensive glass as hard, because everybody's standing around in position. So I just felt like when the ball doesn't move and then you're turning it over and they're live ball turnovers, it's like you're just going to lose the possession battle. You're going to lose the shot margin battle, and you're just making life easy for them. How many times did we see them foul in the bonus 94 feet from the rim down the stretch in the fourth quarter? It's like make their offense execute and beat you, and they just let them off the hook, by fouling.
Yeah, like the mathematics equation for winning these games are exactly what I think we thought coming in. If you defend without fouling, don't turn the ball over, you're going to win these games. The Magic offense is so bad in the half court. Even today, the Celtics half court offense outscored the Magic half court offense. The Magic were at like 76 points per possession, garbage, versus the Celtics, 78 point something, also garbage, but slightly better. But what's the difference? You give them extra possession after extra possession, and that's going to be just enough to where the Magic are able to generate their own stuff. And when you're not generating, as you're saying, isolation, like any ball movement, you're not scoring. That's giving the Magic offense semi-transition, loosening up your own defense, and it just becomes this cascading effect. I thought it was so slow, process-wise, offensively, in that second half. It was like, outside of the very first action, Tatum hits a two-man game with Derek White, catch and shoot three, nails it. Every time after that, it was like, you're running these little actions. I like running them, but you got to run them. Get in and out of the screens faster. The amount of times KP like sets a screen and then like dawdled into the lane. I'm like,
he wasn't making his screens were so bad. Like just
terrible.
Just when you want to talk physicality, I think, his issue was just, not that he just wasn't dominating switches, but just his screens were super soft. So it's like, even when you're trying to create separation from that elite ball pressure, that requires you to have a good screen to just free it up and let them get downhill. Let the ball handler draw in the help and create an open three. When's the last time we saw a drive and kick Hauser three? Like, I can't even remember him even getting an attempt like that. Pritchard didn't take a three in this game.
Hauser got one shot at it, and it's like, and he wasn't even close again.
Yeah, I bet you if you looked at the total, it wouldn't shock me if they lost the shot margin by like 10 or so. Like
it was 9.
Okay, so 9. Yeah. I bet you they made 5 or 6 more baskets. That's what it was late in the fourth quarter, something like that. And then you just like, those are all due to offensive rebounds and turnovers. They had 42, almost half of their fucking points were off second chance points and points off turnovers, 42 of their 95. Like, those are all self-inflicted wounds where you're right. Like, if you aren't going to turn the ball over and you're going to make them beat you in the half court, they can't do it. The same way those Heat teams couldn't do it. But how did you blow those games? Well, they turn it over 18 times for 25 points. Tonight, 19 turnovers for 26 points. It's the formula. It's like the Celtics we know what their formula is to win, and we know what their formula is when they lose. Those things have not changed since the bubble. And it's just about like, can you just play to your standard And tonight they were not even close.
Yeah, they were not close to their standard. And it's like those swing factors, as you said, didn't go our way. Like Nick in the chat here, like 95 points, 19 points came from free throws. And like that's a swing factor in this series. It's like the Magic get to the free throw line as much as anybody, but they also foul more than anybody. So the Celtics getting to the free throw line is not necessarily the most surprising thing. It's the Magic won the battle today in that the Celtics are a team that do not send people to the free throw line, and the Magic got 26 free throws tonight. Like the free throws, the offensive rebounds, and the turnovers, you add just like the fact that it was even a 2-point game is astounding. Crazy. And why I like the matchup, because like so much mathematically needs to go right for the Magic and wrong for the Celtics.
And their margin for error was a 2-point win.
Yeah,
so like
exactly.
That's why it's annoying.
Yeah, exactly. You don't need to play perfect. You just need to play well enough, and they did not play well enough. And
some of those fouls, though, like again, you have Al Horford fouling 94 feet from the basket. You have, there's just, maybe 6 of those were off fouls that you did not need to commit, and that wasn't. Oh, the Celtics are getting a bad whistle. Like maybe some of the drives on Al, was marginal contact as opposed to what we're seeing happen with Jaylen on the other end. But a handful, at least 2 or 3 of their trips were a result of your just bad decision making in bad moments. Which when's the last time Al Horford has ever made like a bad decision in his life? So it's like it's kind of like when Drew fucked up the end of that Atlanta game. Like you just deal with it, and it's just annoying because I think when we talk about the Celtics need short series, a 3-0 kill shot, like this was your first chance to really, ensure you would have a short series, and it still may be in 5, but you've just now made life unnecessarily harder, even by the smallest degree, right? It's just another 48 minutes of something to go wrong. We're seeing Tatum, get undercut twice on threes now, so like I have to be worried about that. It's just that to me is what is so annoying is you were so close to just getting out of there with this win and effectively ending the series, and now it's like you may as well be tied because you now have given them life.
Yeah, it hurts, and it felt like at halftime you go on that run to close. Tatum's going nuts, and I don't know. It felt like they relaxed a little bit.
But that's been the story of all. Remember, all 3 games were like, they get it up to this 10-12, but they haven't been able to push it into that 18-20, right? Every single time they're getting it into this 10-12 range, they're immediately giving up a 6-0 run. They're not getting that separation. Today, it's because they went like 8 minutes without making a basket.
I know. So I saw a tweet. I think it was Justin Turpin. 11 points in the third quarter was their lowest points total since November 2021. That's crazy. Incredible. That's incredible that this iteration of the Celtics, like, I did not really think that was in the range of outcomes to have an Olympics, range of years between your worst ever offensive output for a quarter coming in the year 2025 of our Lord Missoula Ball. Like that's a surprise and not the best timing.
No, and the worst part is like the thing that you brought in to sort of prevent those droughts, because you're thinking, okay, if the Celtics are going to have a low-scoring quarter, it's usually, they'll probably go, 3 of 15 from 3. Tonight it was Porzingis is missing bunnies over point guards. Okay. You're missing shots at the rim. You're not getting anything from the mid-range. It's like it didn't matter what zone they were taking shots from, and in addition to that, they couldn't stop turning the ball over. So it's like if you're not making shots and you're turning the ball over, what do you think is going to happen?
You mentioned Kristaps Porzingis. This was a brutal performance, I thought, obviously, from him on both ends, specifically offensive. You mentioned how, like, you bring in Kristaps Porzingis specifically to break these scoring.
To not have 11-point quarters. Like, that is the whole point.
Literally the point. And against a team that is playing a switching defense and a guy that's been the most efficient post scorer leading the NBA 2 straight seasons. He has not made a 3-point shot in 3 games in this series so far.
28%. I think he's got like a 38% true shooting percentage in the series.
In a game you lose by 2, he goes 1 for 3 from the free throw line. That Corey Joseph post up that he had late that he got all the way to the rim on, like we've seen him make that shot a million times. Yep. It's like Jayson Tatum has lifetime immunity. Jaylen Brown, lifetime immunity. Drew Holiday, Al Horford, Derek White. They have lifetime immunity for securing banner 18. Kristaps Porzingis got an A on the group project for turning up to a quarter of the semester last season, and now he's played 2 very, very bad games out of 3 in this postseason.
I mean,
I need more.
You can make the case, right? If you want to say his game 1 in Dallas was like a healthy, just, so he's played 4. He played 4 healthy games last year, and then 3. So he's played 7 healthy games as a Celtic for the most part. He's been bad in 4 of them.
Yeah.
Right? Because he had 2 stinkers in Miami, and he has 2 stinkers to start this series. And the game that he had 20 and 10, he still shot like shit. So it's like, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt on that one because he got to the line 14 times and they won. But like, if you wanted to count that, you could say he's really only had like games 1 and 3 in Miami, and then game 1 in the finals. Like, that's it. And that is, again, he was traded for Marcus Smart. So it's like, you have to, this is the time of year where you have to show up, especially in a moment like this where it's a step on your throat game, right? And you only had to be awful.
D+.
Like,
D+.
Exactly.
That would have been enough.
Like, you didn't have to be good. You didn't have to even be okay. You didn't have to be like
bad. Bad would have been great.
Like, for all the meat that he earned, the other night, like, where was the meat in Miami or in Orlando?
He was full, apparently. He overate on Lamb in game 2, apparently. Yeah, dude, and like, you mentioned Marcus Smart, playoff riser. Kristaps Porzingis, this is the playoffs. Now we're playing against this physical team. Bless you.
Thank you.
And like, it's a tough matchup, and as frustrating as the physicality is, and I think that's like over the line, and the refs have kind of lost control of the game a little bit here. This is what the playoffs are about, and he doesn't have a long playoff record, so it's almost hard to say if he's good or bad in the playoffs. But like, we need to see it. This is why you trade away Marcus Smart. This is why you make these moves, and he's been awesome in the regular season. We know what he's capable of, but it's like, I got to see more, and I don't want to play both sides, because we got up here and we were praising him for last game despite missing shots and getting to the free throw line. That was huge. But at some point, we're going to need more than the WWE stuff. We're going to need you to produce.
It just has to be, he's on any given night tasked with being the 3rd or 4th option, right? More often, I think ideally you're thinking he's closer to the 3rd production-wise, but Derek might be 3rd in the shot total-wise, right? So Kristaps' whole deal is, we're going to get you the switches, and you have to be efficient, and you have to dominate your touches. That requires you to not be 1 good game, 1 bad game, 1 good game, 1 bad game. Like that's for the role player. That's for Al. Like that's.
Well, no. That's for Pritchard.
Never bad, but like Horford has earned the right to have inconsistency. At this stage of Porzingis, the reason that he's here, and again, a lot of his misses today came little turnarounds over Corey Joseph. Open catch and shoot threes. It's not like he was banging bodies in the post and just got thrown off his spot. Like, he couldn't score over guys that were 8 inches shorter than him. And that's what makes it so painful. And then you talk about his I think he's shooting like 60% from the free throw line. So it's like, you can't even bank on him making both of his free throws at a time when he can't make a jumper. But it's just like, you have Sam Hauser and Kristaps Porzingis are shooting 0% from 3 in a playoff series. It's just, I'm sorry, it's just not going to be good enough in this series, and it's not going to be good enough in any series they play, to have 28 and 0% shooting splits. That's not it.
No, it's not. And like, it was not the best Al Horford game, but at the same time, it's like, Al Horford had 6 points, but he only took 5 shots, and he had 2 of your 9 3-point makes tonight. He was
Right.
2 for 3 from 3. Al Horford out-rebounded Kristaps Porzingis tonight. He had 3 assists. Al Horford had 2 blocks.
Right.
It's like he had 0 turnovers. Al Horford's never going to kill you. Kristaps
Right.
Porzingis was a team worst -16. It's no surprise to me that Derek White and Al Horford were team highs in plus minus. So Luke kind of got snuck in there with +8, but I don't really kind of assign too much of that because it's more just like a minutes thing. Yeah. But Horford and Derek and Kristaps just like that -16 single game plus minus can be weird, but like that, you can see that jumps out at you. You could pick any number on his box score, really. Even the 6 rebounds. It's like, bro, needed like 2 more. Just needed 2 more. And he's going to have his chance.
You got to remember, it was his inability to corral the defensive rebound that led to the Derek White play when he fell into the bench, which earned Orlando another possession, which I'm pretty sure they scored on, if I'm not mistaken. So it's like, not only did they need 2 more, in the moments of the game where you needed to rebound, you weren't, and that was a whole team issue. This was, again, they gave up, I think, 14 or 15 offensive rebounds, 15, and that's part of when they get in these funks. That's what it looks like, execution and the margins. Those are what win you or lose you these close playoff games. Like, look at what the Wolves did today. Tie game with 4 minutes left. What did they do? They executed down the stretch and pulled away. OKC, same thing the other night, down the stretch. Cleveland in their close game against Miami. The Celtics, even at times in this series, we've seen them, get the big Tatum's rebounding in game 1. Their execution offensively in game 2 down the stretch. Today, it was like you didn't get anything. Even when you were scoring, you weren't getting the stops. When you weren't getting the stops, then you were scoring. It was like, or you were getting the stops, but then, you couldn't convert on the other end. So it was just, one of those you burn the tape and move on. But like, it's going to keep me up until about 4:30 today, just thinking about it.
No question. So I think that's probably enough on Kristaps. Like, just has to be better. This is the job. This is Boston. This is go turn on Celtic City. Like, this is why you wanted to come to Boston. You had a really good time in the regular season.
This is what matters.
This Celtics team's been carrying you to quite a few wins here over the past 2 seasons. It's time for you to earn your points with some meat. Let's see it in game 4. The end of the game here, Jaylen Brown picks up his 4th foul with about fifth foul with 4.5 minutes to go in the game. Mazzulla takes him out, and Jaylen doesn't come back in the game until like the last minute, essentially. Tries to get him in a little bit earlier. What did you think about his decision to not keep Jaylen in the game?
I mean, it's tough because I feel like, I debate whether he would have been targeted and how aggressive would he have been defensively to prevent him from getting a 6th foul. I can't remember the sequences of when he came out with 4 or so minutes, how many stoppages were like. I don't think they should have burned a timeout to bring him back in. And I think he was at the scorer's table for a little bit. Yep. And just one of those crazy, there's just no stoppage runs. So I just think that was all timing, but also the group that was on the floor did come back, right? Like, they tied the game down the stretch. So I think that's just one of the unfortunate, like, how the game unfolds. There just wasn't that opportunity, but it's just another situation of, find a way to defend without fouling, put yourself in a position, to not even have to be taken out of the game. But that didn't bother me as much because it felt like they were still, executing and scoring and giving themselves a chance until he came back in. It's just, it was too little too late, when it came down to making that final play.
I thought it was a mistake. And I said it in the moment, so I'm not playing like the Monday quarterback thing. Like, there's 4 minutes left in the game. Like, I don't know, if you take him out, you essentially fouled out Jaylen Brown anyway. And by taking out Jaylen Brown, you had to put in Kristaps Porzingis. And I was like, no, you're right. So Jaylen came out right when Tatum got fouled on one of his 3-point shots, basically, like the possession before. And so it was a 5-point game when Jaylen went out, and then and Jaylen fouled Paolo on the free throws, and then it was a 6-point game, and Tatum got fouled and cut it to a 3-point game. And it basically went back and forth there. I just thought having Jalen out there, he was actually able to generate something offensively. I'd just rather go down with Jaylen Brown out
I
on
hear
the
you,
court.
but I do remember like thinking at that time they really need to rebound. And I remember when Porzingis came in, he immediately got that contested rebound.
He did.
So it's like you kind of understood maybe what Joe was thinking of, like, okay, especially maybe can we get him something by the rim? It's just I can understand the thought process. You just would hope for better execution, down the stretch. It's just, I think, one of those unfortunate just of how the timing unfolded. But I can understand because, again, he came in, immediately got the rebound. I think the tough part was all the things that happened before the final 4 minutes where, you open the fourth quarter, he immediately travels. He's getting driven by, I think Paolo got him once and Franz got him once on drives. Like those are the plays where those need to be blocks. You need to execute and not travel, to open the quarter to just give the non-Tatum minutes momentum. That 0-6 start basically buried them, if you think about it, to start the fourth quarter. And I just, that's what I think stood out more of that run.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. It's easy to second guess what happens in the last 4 minutes there. I would have kept Jalen in, but that's not where this game was lost, right?
No.
And I'm sure Missoula. I mean, obviously Missoula was going to probably agree with that. That maybe he would go back and change it. Who knows? But like the turnovers had been committed at that point. The rebounds had not been secured at that point. So like it's easy to kind of go.
You had already scored. You had already had an 11-point quarter by that moment, right? Like you only scored 23 in the fourth, so it's not like you or whatever that was. It wasn't like they were lighting it up in that quarter either. So it's like. And I would say the same thing about all the end of game clock situations, like unfortunate, pretty inexcusable, but like, if you're relying on a 0.2 heave, there's a lot that have gone wrong. The only thing I was really upset over that was it felt like they were about to generate a turnover. Yeah. And by calling that fake 8-second violation, it just allowed them to recollect their thoughts and remind everyone to drain the clock. Like for all we know, they would have been scrambling and someone makes a mistake, but you still had to execute, well before those sequence of events, and you didn't.
Yeah, like, I mean, I didn't think necessarily the refs were heavily in favor of the of the Magic. I just thought the refs were all over the place. It was just like the backcourt or 8-second violation.
That's what I mean. Like
Paolo was absurd. Like, why are you blowing the whistle there? Like. So no, you're right in that they were scrambling, and so who knows what's happened. It's like, what are the refs doing? And then what's the point of all the replays if you can't fucking stop and give the Celtics 0.7 or 0.8? I don't think that the Celtics would have scored on that play, but does it raise your percentage chance from like 2% to 6%? Maybe.
Yeah. And here's what, I don't know if maybe this is like, what's it like called the Mandela effect, where like, you think something exists that doesn't actually exist, whatever. I feel like I have seen officials go to the review board to verify the clock at every stage of the game. So the fact
clock, hang on. Clock.
I think they told Drew Carter, it was like, oh, we can only check it if it's like a time expiring thing. Like, I'm almost certain on every one of those plays you could watch at any point. They go back and they say, oh, they're going to put an extra 0.3 on the clock. Like, that does not only happen in a game buzzer beating situation. So I feel like, am I being gaslit? Like, am I pretending that I've seen that happen before in NBA games? Like, I can't understand that.
And like, probably, who knows what it is, but I felt the exact same way. But regardless, there just should be something in the rule book. It doesn't matter if it's this thing. It's just like, if the rule book says we can't actually look at that specific thing because of these rules, but it's like clearly something has happened and it's the end of a close game, it's like, then what's the point of any of the replays? What's the point of any of the replays? Like, it should just be a rule at the beginning of the fucking rule book. If you think you should look at it and you can, just fucking do it. It's not rocket science to me.
I guess my question is like, what's the harm?
What's the harm?
What's the harm?
As soon as Tatum grabs the ball, timeout. Sure, 0.7. And of course, KP on that play, Derek throws it up and KP probably got fouled, but it's like, Could KP not have just been a little more physical and got his hand up there? You had to really end the game also getting thrown to the ground. It's like, fuck me, dude.
To be honest, I didn't love that play. Just overall.
No, point three? What are you supposed to do there?
Seen shit. Who was it? Wasn't it like the Wizards or somebody that ran like a beautiful, like, remember when like Luke Cornett like lunged the wrong way and someone back cut him for like a game time? It was like the same situation. I can't remember who it was against. It was in one of their like horrific losses towards the end of the season. But like, you didn't even really run a play. We've seen even there was that one like screen to Grayson Allen that like when the Suns hit like some game winner towards the end, like there's shots that you can get in point three. Everything about that whole sequence just was a disaster.
Yeah. I thought that the Magic just like defended the play that they drew up. And so the backup plan was just for Derek to shoot it and
try to tip it. I guess.
I would have liked, could KP just not have got a hand to it? Don't need to make it. Just fucking don't end up on the ground.
But I'll tell you one thing. If I see some League 2 Minute report tell me that he should have been fouled on that play, I'm going to lose my fucking shit. Yeah. I'll tell you that much.
Another rule that was weird, like the Celtics drew a foul on the inbounds play. So Tatum got to shoot like a technical, but the Magic were in the bonus. And I was like, so you don't get 2 free throws for like an inbounds foul despite you're in the bonus?
Oh, because they were already in the bonus.
Yeah, I was like, I thought you would get 2, but I know I'm not blaming the refs for the loss.
Can I vent about something? What I don't understand is on the closeout foul, right? On Tatum's closeout 3 that they gave him and did not review it.
Never.
If you're saying, okay, the foul is down low, the reason that we are calling this a foul is because you landed in the landing space, then how are you not also conceding that it's a landing space flagrant? Like, it's either a no call or a flagrant. I don't understand how it can be a foul but then not looked at and then not be a flagrant. If you're saying the only reason we're calling this a foul is because this person landed in your landing space. Okay, so if someone landed in the landing space, why does that not trigger the review and an automatic landing space flagrant? It's just very, very unusual that he seems to be the only player that just doesn't add up with. I can't understand that.
It's the same thing with the time and the clock you said before. I feel like when I remember watching another game, they just review it like automatically. But when it's Tatum, they don't. I'm like, it was like when was it Giannis that landed underneath him earlier in the season? And I don't know who it was exactly, but then Tatum was like, I could be out for like 6 weeks from that.
He just got hurt. He just got hurt with it.
Yeah.
So like,
it's frustrating.
But that's another thing. It's like, okay, if we're all agreeing that this is why we're calling a foul, how is it just not a rule that anytime you call a landing space foul, you review it no matter what? And if it somehow doesn't deem it flagrant, which I can't understand why it wouldn't, if that's the whole purpose of having a flagrant penalty for it, like, does the person need to land on the foot and injure himself?
Yeah, I guess.
A flagrant foul? That doesn't make any goddamn sense. So it's like he should have gotten those 1 free throw and then those 3, from the shooting foul. It's very just unusual.
Annoying, unusual. Sam Hauser, Peyton Pritchard, Luke Cornett.
Unplayable.
We heralded Pritchard. I think I still thought his defense was pretty solid today, but like the fact that he only got, you got to credit the Magic defense to an extent here, like no question. Sam Hauser in particular, it's clearly not the series for him, but you kind of have to play him 10-ish minutes to make sure you're not loading up the rest of the team with too many minutes. But he's getting between 1 and 2 threes a game. He had a good look in the fourth quarter, I think it was.
From the corner?
In the corner, not even close.
Not even close.
Not even close.
He's not one. It's astounding how unplayable he is in this series. It really is. Because even if he's a limited player, it's felt like his development has made him into a guy where regardless of the type of defense you're playing, he can still find a way to be effective. But now it's like he's trying to come off these screens. They're trailing him. He can't get his airspace, but he's not attacking the closeout and getting into the paint. He's just, it's like he's a junior varsity player playing on varsity who like doesn't want to do anything, doesn't want the responsibility, is just running around, misses the 1 or 2 shots that he gets, and next thing you know, he's like a -8 and he never plays again. So it's like, them not being playable is a big problem because we can't keep relying on Al Horford, right? Like we can't. It's not fucking fair. And it's like, if Porzingis, I now can't rely on him. The shooters have to be there. Peyton Pritchard needs to take a 3-pointer. Like this was as un-Missoula ball of a performance as I think we're ever going to see. They got killed in the 3-point volume. They were just sloppy. They were weak defensively, for long stretches, just bad all around, but especially with the second unit, like that's where the game slipped. Like you have to be able to be playable. We're in the playoffs. Like you can't be, there's nobody else. I can't put Jordan Walsh in this game right now. So it's like, guys are it. Like you're the options.
Well, Baylor Scheinman, one of his best games of the season, did come against the Orlando Magic when the rest of the top 6 were out. Would you consider using Baylor in this matchup over Hauser? Because he has more like playmaking juice and a potential to actually break down the defense a little bit. Hauser's kind of getting targeted defensively anyway. I'm just throwing it out there.
Here's my only hesitation for that. I don't know if his athleticism is where, like, Hauser's already slow enough. I don't know. Is Baylor faster or slower of a player? You know what I mean? I don't know. Is he getting any different type of separation that Sam Hauser isn't getting right now? And then am I also ready to trust a rookie with physical playoff ball pressure? Like, maybe, but I don't know. At this point, maybe you got to try Craig just for the defense and hope he can make an open 3. I don't know. I would prefer if Sam Hauser could just be an effective player. It would make my life a little bit easier.
I'm not going there yet. I just wanted to throw it out there. I would stick with Sam Hauser at least for Game 4 as well. We'll see. Like chances are the Celtics just win Game 4, and we get to like when we get to a Knicks matchup or a Pistons matchup or a Cavs matchup, like especially next round, there's going to be a lot more drop coverage. The defense is going to be a lot more in rotation. Ironically, like this is going to be the toughest defense you see until you get to the finals potentially against the Golden State Warriors. Like even the Cavs, they were 8th defensively this season. Like this Magic defense is a real defensive test. So I wouldn't go overboard by like maybe fucking with the confidence of Sam Hauser because similar to last season, he was bad tough in the Pacers series and then came back in the finals against the Mavericks and was awesome. So these things can switch.
Like, I'm talking about give me 2 threes.
Give me one. One won the game.
Give me one. Like I'm not asking you to make 10. Like I just need you to be able to sustain your minutes with positive play.
Yeah.
Please let that can be the baseline.
Yep. And look, 1 rebound as well. As you said, impacted the game in other ways. Both him and Pritchard combined for 2 rebounds, and we heralded Pritchard. And I'm fine with Pritchard. I'm not really worried about him. I think that he'll come back and be better. He's been good in 2 out of 3 games. So I feel good about Pritchard. Obviously, not what we wanted to see tonight. I didn't love Pritchard like at the very end of the game calling his own number. He almost had it, but he ends up getting stripped for a turnover.
The half court. Well, and then you had Sam, like right before that, you had Sam Hauser throw away the ball on the inbound pass.
Well, that was earlier in the game. I meant like the very like fourth quarter, the Pritchard one. But the turnover started early, and Sam Hauser had the one. Yeah, he threw it away under the basket and just gave away a layup. And Pritchard turned the ball over at half court and gave away a dunk.
Jalen.
Yes.
That got turned over.
I give Jalen and Jayson just a little more. Like they have so much more ball. Like 7 turnovers for Tatum, 6 turnovers for Jalen. Way too many. But like, I can't have that from Pritchard, and I can't have like those just like brain dead under the basket, getting picked at half court stuff like that. I need them to be solid in those moments. So the turnovers started early there, and like that was like a string. It was like Tatum for some reason isolated Jonathan Isaac, picked. Next possession was like Hauser under the basket. Next possession was Pritchard getting picked by Anthony Black, all right next to each other. And it's like that's an 8-point. That's the game. You could just isolate the game to right there,
Right.
And that's good, I think, big picture for the series, because I think that a lot of
But
that stuff's
you know how
avoidable.
playoff works. You know, you have a game like this, and you think, okay, like all this had to go right, and they only won by 2. Okay, well, the next game could be a magnet ball 3-point game because now they're confident. You know what I mean? So or they could go right back to the team we saw. It's just you just never know, and it's why you can't throw away playoff games.
Yep, it hurts. It hurts. I mean, Greeny. If I'm not sure there's anyone else to talk too much about. We mentioned Al Horford was great. Good to see Tatum looked physically pretty good. I thought he settled for some tough shots though in the second half. It feels like he's creating a step on whoever's guarding him, and then he doesn't quite trust that he's got a step, and so instead of going all the way to the rim, he's like then turning it into a post up. But that means he's posting up against a Wendell Carter or a Paolo, and it's like, a fadeaway against those guys is not what I want. You may as well just back it out and take a pull-up 3. Like, those heavily contested turnaround 2-pointers are not what I want to see. But I would say try and trust yourself and force a couple of more attempts at the rim.
Well, that's why you have to wonder, is any of it a mental aspect of the play that happened in game 1? Like, remember, we saw Gordon Hayward, like, he had to overcome his demons. Are there I don't think we saw Tatum really fully. I mean, he had that 1-and-1, but that wasn't like through contact or traffic. That was, a hand reach. I just wonder, because you're right, he does get that initial step. He gets right into the middle of the paint, and then it seems like he changes course. Is that any sort of reservation of making that extra step towards the rim as opposed to, a step back or a fall away? Because I just thought it was a Miami Heat series PTSD of just tough shot quality down the stretch. And a lot of it was based off isolation basketball and contested 2s. Like, I would much rather, like you said, take a 3 over a contested 2 every single day of the week. And, just for the spacing aspect, and then hopefully you get an offensive rebound.
Yeah, I think you can be better, but it might be mental, like getting pulled out of the air like that. But I do think that there's some, like, if he's got Wendell Carter on him, trust that step and challenge at the rim, because then the rim protection's not going to be there because you've got Wendell Carter on you. So trust yourself to make those plays, and if you take one more dribble, then that's when the drive and kick game can start to open up, because they will probably commit an extra defender to the paint to contest the shot.
Did you think that? I just can't remember even how many driving kicks did they even really have?
No, but I think it just starts and ends with Tatum for the most part, right? So if he's not going to trust himself to get to the rim a little bit more, I think then that's going to be hard to get those. Jaylen, I thought, did well collapsing the defense at time. He continues to be efficient. It was really just a couple of those bad turnovers. Like, he had 19 points on 14 shots. So you just got to clean some of that up. But yeah, and Derek White was pretty good, I thought.
But ever since he banged knees on that Wendell Carter Jr. screen towards the end of the third quarter, it felt like he was immediately short on all of his jumpers.
Jaylen?
No, Derek White.
Okay.
Derek White. So remember, he had like that air ball.
Yeah.
It just, so I'm worried about that. Is like, banging knees. Is it going to be the third Celtics with a bone bruise? Like, what is coming? That I'm going to hear from Shams tomorrow about some sort of MRI or X-ray. Like, goddamn.
Yeah, and he had a couple looks, but we didn't get the Derek White. How did he hit that shot in the fourth quarter when it felt like you desperately needed it, because he only had one 3-point attempt for Derek in the, and he had it. It was like 10 minutes to go, so it wasn't wouldn't have been like a kill shot or anything like that. But down 70-78, that would have been a good time to get. And he had a pretty clean look at it, top of the key against Cole Anthony. It's just those little swing factors, those little moments didn't quite go their way quite enough.
Nope.
One thing that kind of makes the day a little bit easier is that the Lakers just went down 2-1. So that does ease my pain just a little bit. I'd much rather be up 2-1 in the first round than down 2-1 in the first round in a do or die game in Minnesota or in Orlando. So I will take.
Yeah,
a
but
I'm
just so. It's been a long time since a playoff. When's the last time we've been like annoyed with a playoff loss? Game 2 of Cleveland, like.
Yeah.
So I mean, that was.
I guess technically Game 3 of the finals, but we were up 3-0.
Yeah, we're up 3. Like the series was over, so it's like. I forgot how just infuriating it is to go through these frustrating, just because when it's a magnet ball, historic franchise record 3-point shooting performance, you're like, okay, like I know that's not happening again. When you had 19 turnovers, well, I could see the Magic forcing 19 turnovers again if this team isn't better with their ball security. So it's like it's more of a concerning contributing factor to their losses as opposed to those 2 last year where Cleveland made 23s and the Heat made 23 threes. Yeah. So it's a little bit more like this was a more substantial, repeatable formula for the Magic to win.
On one hand, I get what you're saying, but on the other hand, I'm like, it's also kind of controllable. I know this team could not turn the ball over. I know that they can defensive rebound. I know that they can defend without fouling. So I'm like, if you can do those 3 things instead of doing none of those 3 things, then you might win by 15. So right. I feel, and then the Grizzlies are up 30 yesterday. The difference is Derek White didn't undercut Paolo Banchero and take him out for the second half. So it's like the Thunder would have lost that game yesterday if Ja Morant doesn't break his hip at the end of the first half. And so these little swing factors, maybe the Celtics need to start breaking.
Well, I'll tell you this, they can't lose. I mean, Game 4 is like, it's not a must win, but it's like
it's a pretty must win.
It's a pretty must win. Like, you can't come back to Orlando after Sunday.
Yeah, this has to be it. You can't have hotel reservations at Disney World after Game 6. That would be a problem. Greeny, when I talk to you next, let's hope we're up 3-1.
Let's hope so.
That'll be nice. Everybody listening, appreciate you. Till next time, go Celtics.